People who attempted suicide before, what's something your friend can say or do that can really help? I remember my friend picked me up once after I had an attempted and he just let me chill in his room. He didn't pressure me into doing anything or bombard me with questions. I think he knew I didn't want to be alone while being alone, if that makes sense. After one of my attempts I ran into a buddy I hadn't seen in a while because I'd become a little recluse. Why? His face was lit up and he hugged me and he said, "I thought you fucking died. What are you doing tonight?" Nah, we're going to make a nice dinner and I'm gonna show you a game I got. Come on. Lay off on the saying things, listen more. And overall, I can't stress this enough, be there. Honestly, I can't think of anything someone could say that would have helped. Nor can I personally. I got to that point because everything wrong with my life and the world at large built up until it seemed insurmountable. A friend trying to help would have just felt like throwing pebbles to stop a tsunami. I'm certainly not discouraging anyone from supporting their friends nor saying that my experience is universal, but if someone's actively suicidal, the best thing you can do is try to get them professional help. At the time I wouldn't call what I did a suicide attempt, as my intention wasn't ending my life, but a few years ago I stabbed myself in the stomach. Tons of people came out of the woodwork to tell me they are there for me and to just reach out, but the one that meant the most was one of my oldest friends. He didn't just send a half-assed message and then never reach out again like the others, he actually kept contact. It wasn't much, just a random meme from Reddit or some joke or song. Just something small that kept me grounded and realizing that there are people out there that care about me and want me around. He passed away 2 years ago this month and I miss him more than anything. He died of a drug overdose and not a day goes by where I don't wish I could have helped him the way he had helped me in the weeks and months after my attempt. Reach out to them. Throw them the lifeline, don't just tell them the lifeline is available if they ask, because chances are they won't. This is going to be more personal so please don't leave me too soon. I want to be able to visit you across the hall when we're 80 years old and in the mental asylum, haha. I keep that letter in my wallet and read it when I am feeling very bad. It gives me a way to hold on to something. Means the world to me and that letter is priceless to me. A big hug can go a long way. You matter to me. And actually mean it. A hug. I was about 13 when my mom saw cuts on my arm. I got lectured by both my parents as they set me in front of a computer screen to look at images of scars from people who cut. Tried to scare me out of it and it made me feel even worse, but I didn't want to do it anymore because I didn't want to disappoint them. I believe in life after death, and I'm sealed to my family. That was probably one of the most traumatizing moments of my life. Afterwards my mom constantly bombarded me with questions and would check my arms for more cuts. She would make me wear tight clothes to school so I didn't feel bad about my body. If I can give you any advice, don't force it. Be there, be supportive, but let them deal with those thoughts in their own way. You can only do so much to sway a person, but let them know you are there, and if they just want to sit with you then that's okay. Edit, I should probably mention this before I get comments that my parents are abusive or whatever, but I don't think they've really dealt with suicide a lot, and definitely not out of my other siblings. It came out of a place of love and wanting to keep me here, but I think they had just kinda panicked. Love 'em both dearly, parents make mistakes. Maybe even having some real friends would have stopped me before? I don't know, the only friends I had were just people who were using me for stuff. I'll never forget the day of my first attempt. I was sitting on my floor about to go for it soon when a guy from school called me. My friend had desperately told everyone she could think of after finding out I wanted to kill myself. He said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "No, you're not." He begged me not to do anything stupid and tried to get me to understand nobody's life would be the same if I left. My eyes sting every time I think about it. Hope he's doing well. Having a friend would have stopped me. It was at a time in my life when all my friends decided I wasn't good enough for them. I always struggled to think of the impact it would have on other people. My best friend and I were in the car one night and I was crying and I mentioned how I think a lot about standing on the edge of a building and whether or not anyone would look up if I was going to jump. She told me that every time I thought like that, to imagine she was on the rooftop with me. Putting it in that perspective really helped me in some low places. It's something we say to one another at bad points. Now I'm on that rooftop with you. Always. Gandalf is my anti-suicide friend, and when the darkness comes calling I try to remember his beautiful words against despair. I've attempted a couple of times and have had other really close calls or intense ideation. I've had a few things stand out to me. First was my best friend of 12 plus years telling me I'm one of her favorite places in the whole universe, and she can't imagine not having me around anymore. The other time, my other best friend just held my hand and told me I'm her best friend in the whole world and she will fight with me. Knowing I have an army with me against my depression makes me feel less alone because they don't have to know or feel what I'm experiencing, but they are ready to fight tooth and nail for me. My old friends thought I had sexualized them and thought I was a homophobic and ditched me, when I wasn't at all, and I never had ever sexualized them. They were my closest friends and I couldn't live without talking to them, so suicide was on my mind for quite some time after that. I had it all planned out, ready to go, but I had one more friend that was there for me. She loved me so much she didn't want me to leave, and her inspiration for me is the reason why I'm here today. I've attempted twice. My friends give an awkward laugh and say we're not gonna go there, if I ever mention anything even remotely suicidal, serious, or joking. They know about both attempts. I don't know what anyone can say or do, but brushing it aside is not the answer. I can tell you that. You're not going to die by having that rough conversation. But they might if you refuse to. Just having a friend would have been more than enough for me. This is an important thread. My parents are the dig head in sand until it goes away kind of people. And I had a really difficult time with suicidal thoughts. I'm 30 now, and still feel like if I had someone sit down, look me in the face, and tell me they love me and that I mean a lot to them, without it turning into a guilt trip that's all about the other person, I would be in a better place. I know my people love me, but they brush off or change the subject anytime anything happens or anything is brought up in general that they don't want to talk about. Even now when I try to talk about issues in the past, avoiding conversations with those that need it the most, is just as bad as denying them altogether. Make sure your people know how much they mean to you. It would have helped me immensely. Try to provide some hope. Depression is the death of hope. If you can't do that, just hang out in a non-judgmental way. It's like cock-blocking a suicidal person. For me personally, what broke me wasn't seeing Dee cry. Wasn't seeing her feel as if she was to blame, even though I am alive, because I felt bad for her. I had asked to talk to her after work but she blew it off thinking I was asking her out. Sure I'll go out with you, haha. It was her saying everything is going to be alright. It just broke me, literally broke me beyond belief, which resulted in me opening up more, then her saying it's not your fault and just fuck me. 2 attempts, hundreds if you count climbing the same cliff or placing the rope around your neck. Don't ask them if they need anything, just bring them stuff without even asking. A lot of asking for help just produces feelings that you are too much and that you are a burden on people, so if people help without you even asking, it's just one less thing that person has to worry about. If you need someone to talk to, I can listen. And mean it. In exchange, I will do my best to remember to ask, is now a good time? I know people have stress and other things going on in their lives, so sometimes they aren't in the right mindset to listen to me unload, and I want to respect that. Another thing friends can do that honestly help me, might not be helpful for everyone, is just distract me. When I am spiraling downward, sometimes I just need someone to distract me to help me stop. My so is great with this. If things are bad, he will often just start rambling about interests or what is going on in his day until I have calmed down. That can really help. Just a hug. No words. Just a big hug and a smile. Honestly, just talking to me really helps. Please don't leave me alone, you know. For me specifically, I had attempted a few days before, and was going to attempt again. One of my friends just texted me, "Wanna hop on?" I don't know how it helped, but he kept me distracted, and it gave me hope that someone cared. This is going to sound morbid, but honestly I wish someone had told me that it doesn't always work. Sometimes you survive, and you get to live with all the physical disabilities that will every day remind you of the biggest mistake of your life, and why you can't be the person you want to be because of choices you made when you were in a bad place. And it will affect others. I can't be the wife, mother, or woman I want to be because of self-inflicted injuries and their consequences. I have to look my daughter in the eyes and tell her, sorry honey, mommy can't play that game with you like daddy can. You'll have to wait until he gets home. Because I physically can't. I can't drive. I can't work. And I disappoint myself every single day because of it. You don't always succeed. You may become someone else's dependent. Truly think on that. I was in hospital with 2 collapsed lungs, 5 broken ribs, a fractured pelvis, a fractured spine and lots of internal bleeding after I jumped off a cliff. I was in so much pain I had a pain button I could press which administered fentanyl. One of my sisters let me cry in her lap for a few hours. I said a lot of things that probably hurt her, like I wish I'd actually died. She said nothing but stroked my back and hair. She doesn't know this, but after that moment and just be able to cry in her lap in silence and without judgment helped me more than she'd ever know. My other sister cleaned me up when I couldn't do it myself. She brushed my extremely matted hair, helped me shower for the first time in 4 days and gave me a manicure. That also helped me feel a lot more human after the massive trauma I'd put my body through. I hated hospital food, so my mom cooked me a meal every day and brought it to me in the hospital. Those 3 ladies got me through the most horrific moment in my life just by small gestures. They will never be able to appreciate how those things made me feel a little better during the most horrific and, mentally and physically, painful time in my life, and I'll forever be grateful for their compassion and love. Don't tell me what I should do. Don't tell me that I need help, I know. Don't tell me that I'm depressed, I know. Don't tell me that it'll make my family sad and that I'll be missed. I either don't believe you or that will make me feel worse. Remind me of specific things that I have to live for. Things that pertain to me. Going to college in the fall? Kids? Significant other? Dog? Great artistic abilities? If you tell me you'll go through my recovery with me, please actually do it. You agreed to it, so please don't leave me. Don't get my hopes up. The big thing is knowing that you're valued in all your human fucked up glory. That's hard as a kid or if you live alone because no one is dependent on you or requires you for much. So if you know a friend is struggling, let them know how much they mean to you. How much you take comfort in their suggestions. Help them see that their opinions are meaningful. My biggest push these last few months was when my nephew was really upset when I had to leave a family event early. It just shocked me into thinking that if I was no longer around he would miss me. I knew the rest of the family and my friends would be upset. But they would be able to cope with it or understand it more than a 10-year-old. He would have a different emotional and mental reaction to it. And one I wouldn't want to cause. Stay. Don't leave. If you're really that close to attempting suicide, there is nothing that can be said. Someone being there to stop it is the only thing that will. Spend time with them, invest effort in the relationship, especially if their depression is limiting the amount they can put into maintaining social ties, and let them know you value them and look forward to seeing them again. I asked my friend this and he said just be there. That's it. Just be present. Genuinely there isn't much to be said. Speaking for myself, any reaffirmation of care and love from others went in one ear and out the other. It just felt like people felt guilty so they had to say those things. You can forever remind them of the people that love and care, but there's no promise that can help. In terms of doing something, physically being around that person and spending time with them, even if it's just to watch a show together or play games or something, it helps so much. Something about being in the presence of someone else really helped. Just knowing that they're there. I hope this helps people who may need it. I care about you and I'm here if you ever need to talk. And if possible, you can stay with me for a while if that would help get away from the situation. And not forcing me to talk about problems. Just saying they will listen if I do want to talk. Sometimes space is nice. But even if someone gives me space, it is still nice to know that someone cares. But for me the biggest issue was abuse from my parents as a child, so I'm not sure there's much that any friend could have done. The stuff I said above would be more helpful when dealing with suicidal feelings in adult life. Probably not the best answer considering what my answer is, but cats. Lots and lots of furry fluffy cats. Cats calm me down when I want to end the pain. I cannot tell you how many times my suicidal actions stopped because a cat felt my pain and comforted me. At the risk of me sounding silly, yes, I love animals, primarily cats. Cats were in my life for a long time and they refused to let me seek my destruction. Even a dog kept me safe from a suicidal attempt. If you feel suicidal, just know this: someone out there does care about you. Be it animal or another person. Your pain is very real, but sooner or later, I hope your pain is healed. I know not a single person here, but in my near 3 decades on Earth, I suffered immeasurably. I wish you all well and I hope for you what I would want for myself. I've executed 4 serious suicide attempts. 2 overdose, 1 botched hanging, and a misfired firearm. This isn't counting my first, half-hearted attempt. This is a statement of qualification, not a request for sympathy. Be present. Be strong enough to call professional clinicians if the crisis is intense enough. I was told I'd rather you hate me for this until you're 90 than bury you. While in crisis, logic and reason were easily discarded, and this is from someone who prides herself on both of those. Attempts at logic and reason that justify the suicidal inclinations are fruit of a tainted tree, with mental gymnastics that can irritate even the staunchest, most supportive friends and family. Be especially aware of sudden shifts in mood to a happier, more outgoing version of your friend. It's a trap. These often predicate a planned attempt, as a suicidal patient feels great relief from the internal satisfaction and relief in their decision to end their life. She was doing so much better. How could this have happened? Be vigilant. Be prepared to make the tough call to a professional mental health crisis unit if it feels beyond your ability to assist. It's also important not to convey too strong a sense of pity or that your friend is a burden for needing your help. It can be tiring. It can be painful. That being said, the words "if you leave I'll kill myself" are in every instance grounds to call professionals in. Be supportive, be positive, and reinforce a positive self-image in your friend, but take care not to jeopardize your own mental health or allow them to guilt you into behaviors that you wouldn't otherwise engage in. Their mental health is not your responsibility. If they are in hospital, short or long term, keep being present. Visit them. Call them. Inside a CSU, Crisis Stabilization Unit, there is very little patient agency. Everything is scheduled and under constant observation. Privacy is not a friend of the suicidal. That takes a steep toll on someone who is emotionally withdrawn and constantly seeking an opportunity to self-harm. Daily therapy sessions are exhausting, atop the lack of energy caused by depression itself. During the most high-risk periods, actively expressing how much you appreciate them and enjoy being there for them, with great care to avoid a placating tone, is very helpful as well. Don't leave even if they scream at you. Don't touch them, just remain present. Don't give advice, just be there. If you sincerely have concerns, your presence is so much louder than any other action or piece of advice you can give. Let them get mad or scream at you. Whatever emotion they are throwing at you is an emotion that's not being directed inward. If they are sobbing, don't just try to get up in their personal space, just be there, offer Kleenex and try to keep them hydrated. Any little thing that seems too normal to be effective is noticed on a subconscious level. It's just little breaks in the inner turmoil. Being there no matter what without overreacting is such a powerful thing. And if things smooth over, never share what happened for any reason. If you fuck up that trust that was developed during that time, you have betrayed them on so many levels. They'll never trust you or anyone else if they find themselves in that state again. It's such a vulnerable moment. Don't make it about you by sharing without permission or cause. Be there. I lost friends in both of my attempts. The second time was this year, but I had struggled with thoughts and impulses for years. Told a friend who phased me out of their life like the previous 10 years didn't happen. Honestly, just by asking it's obvious you care, and that in itself is huge. We can't tell you what your friend will actually need, so don't be afraid to ask them what you can do for them. Everyone responds to surviving differently and has different needs. That can be a really uncomfortable subject for both people, so in my opinion it's best to do little things that are in your comfort zone. Like compliment them on their hair or their outfit, their interests, make plans with them. Early last year I made plans and bought tickets to go see Star Wars in December, and just having a day with plans with someone else helped a lot. Well, having friends is a start. I didn't have anyone to talk to and I repelled everyone I met because I don't act the way society wants me to. I have Asperger's and am extremely socially awkward. If I even had a friend, I guarantee I would have been the happiest person in the world if someone had just sat down next to me and said, "Is everything okay, or do you need to talk about anything?" That would have meant the world to me, and still would, to be honest.